On December 24th, 2002, a happily married woman named Laci Peterson suddenly disappeared pregnant with her first child. She had been excited to venture into this brand new chapter of her life with her husband, Scott Peterson. But then one day she was gone, leaving a trail of questions behind her. Eventually, she was found along with her baby, but neither of them was alive. Things went terribly wrong, and there was nothing anyone could do to make things right before proceeding. We offer our deepest condolences to Laci's family for bearing the loss of not one, but two lives. Laci Denise Peterson was born on May 4th, 1975 to parents Sharon Anderson and Dennis Robert Rusher, who first met in high school. Her parents divorced when her and Brent were young, and they moved to Modesto visiting the dairy farm on weekends. Sharon later married Ron Gresky, who played a significant role in raising Laci and Brent from the time Laci was 2 years old. Laci had a lively spirit and was a cheerleader in junior high and high school. After she graduated from Thomas Downey High School, she pursued her education at California Polytechnic State University, majoring in ornamental horticulture. On the other hand, there was Scott Peterson, who was born on October 24, 1972 in San Diego, California. His parents, Lee Arthur Peterson and Jacqueline Helen Latham, were both successful in their own right, with his father owning a crate packaging company and his mother owning a boutique called The Put On in La Jolla. Scott had 6 half-siblings from his parents' previous relationships, but he was their only child together during his childhood. Scott shared a bedroom with his half-brother John in the family's 2-bedroom apartment in La Jolla. Golf was a passion he developed early in life, and by the age of 14, he could already outplay his father. He even aspired to become a professional golfer at one point, and was a teammate of future pro golfer Phil Mickelson at the University of San Diego High School. Scott gained recognition as one of the top junior golfers in San Diego by the end of high school. During Laci's time at California Polytechnic, she would occasionally drop by the Pacific Cafe to visit a friend who worked at the restaurant. That's where Scott worked as well, and in mid-1994, she took the initiative to send him her phone number, firmly believing that he was a man she would marry. Scott gave Laci a call, and their dating journey began as their love blossomed. Scott made a significant life decision, putting aside his dreams of becoming a professional golfer to focus on pursuing a business career. Their courtship lasted for 2 years, and after that they decided to move together. The couple's love story reached a new milestone in 1997 when, after Laci graduated, they finally got married. While Scott was wrapping up his senior year, Laci secured a job in nearby Prunedale. During this period, Scott became involved in his first extramarital affair, but no one was aware of it yet. He completed his academic journey earning a Bachelor of Science degree in agricultural business in June 1998. The Petersons embarked on a business venture by opening a sports bar in San Luis Obispo, aptly named The Shack. But as they looked forward to starting a family, they decided to sell the shack and move to Laci's hometown of Modesto, California. They completed the sale in April 2001. In October 2000, the Petersons invested in a charming 3-bedroom, 2-bath bungalow on Covina Avenue, located in an upscale neighborhood near East Loma Park. Laci, meanwhile, took on a part-time role as a substitute teacher, while Scott gained employment with Trade Corp USA, a subsidiary of a European fertilizer company where he earned a monthly salary of $5,000 before taxes. Laci was known for dedicating a lot of her time and energy to being the ideal house, reveling in cooking, entertaining, and tuning into Martha Stewart. In 2002, the couple received the most delightful news. Laci was pregnant with her due date set for February 10, 2003. They had already picked the name Connor for their upcoming son. On a spring day in 2003, the grimace of discoveries was made in Richmond Point Isabel Regional Shoreline Park in the San Francisco Bay Area. A couple out for a walk with their dog stumbled upon the remains of a newborn baby boy left to decompose in a marshy area. What's even more haunting, the baby's umbilical cord was still attached, suggesting that his birth had taken place in a far from ordinary manner. Just a mile away from the infant's resting place, the eastern shore of the bay concealed yet another dead body. A lifeless woman who had been pregnant recently had washed up on the rocky shoreline. The state of decomposition was so severe that her remains were barely recognizable. Soon, DNA tests confirmed what many had feared. Both bodies belonged to Laci. The expectant mother and her unborn son autopsies were carried out on both victims by Dr. Brian Peterson, a forensic pathologist. The fetus had not decomposed like his mother, and despite his sad condition, showed signs of injury. Nylon tape was found around his neck in 1.5 loops, and a noticeable cut marked his body lace's exact time and cause of death remained elusive. Her cervix was undamaged while 2 cracked ribs left. A question of when these injuries occurred, whether before or after her passing. Her upper body had been emptied of its organs, leaving only her uterus, which acted as a protective shield for her unborn child. This explained why he was in a less advanced stage of decomposition. It was finally concluded that the fetus had passed away within Laci's womb and then been expelled from a deteriorating body, but even in the courtroom during cross-examination, there was uncertain TTY about whether the baby had taken his first breath outside the womb. Adding to the complexity of the case, the presence of meconium in the infant's bowels. The earliest stool typically passed after birth was proof that the baby was born before he died. The discovery of the 2 bodies intensified the hunt for Scott Peterson. Detectives Benny and Bula were hot on his trail, having discreetly placed a tracker on his car. They realized Scott was in San Diego at the time and feared that he might make a run for the Mexican border. The FBI and local police weren't far behind in this intense pursuit. They conducted thorough forensic searches of Scott's residence and belongings. One significant piece of evidence was a strand of hair found in a pair of pliers on Scott's fishing boat. Mitochondrial DNA testing linked this hair to Laci's hairbrush, casting more suspicion on Scott. Their search didn't stop there. Scott's pickup, truck, toolbox, warehouse, and boat were all subject to scrutiny, and among the findings was a homemade anchor discovered in the boat. Scott explained he created it by mixing a 90-pound bag of concrete. He claimed he'd used the rest of the bag to repair his driveway. However, a detective found something that raised eyebrows during his search of Scott's warehouse on December 27th. He noticed a cement-like substance on the wooden bed of a boat trailer. 5 circular areas on the trailer showed less powder than other parts, and a sledgehammer as well as a dustpan surrounded by white powder added to the suspicion the prosecutors believed. Scott had crafted 5 anchors and used 4 of them to weigh down Laci's body in San Francisco Bay. Scott's dramatic arrest unfolded on April 18, 2003 near a golf course in La Jolla. He told his family he was meeting them for a leisurely round of golf, that something was amiss. Scott's typically dark brown hair was now shockingly blonde, giving him a conspicuous new look. His Mercedes 2 raised eyebrows as it was crammed with an array of peculiar items. There was nearly $15,000 in cold hard cash, a stash of 12 Viagra tablets, survival gear, camping equipment, several outfit changes, not 1, not 2, but 4 cell phones and even 2 driver's licenses, his own and his brother's. The plot thickened when Scott's father, Laci Peterson, explained that the extra driver's license was used merely to snag a San Diego resident discount at the golf course. Scott's car, teeming with these items, was his makeshift home, all due to the relentless media attention, but the police and prosecutors had an entirely different interpretation to them. These peculiarities painted a damning picture, suggesting Scott had a plan to escape to Mexico, possibly eluding justice. Shortly after his arrest on April 21, 2003, Scott faced arraignment in the Stanislaus County Superior Court presided over by Judge Nancy Ashley. He was slapped with 2 felony charges of premeditated murder, each accompanied by special circumstances to these grave accusations. Scott uttered a resolute not guilty. Judge Ol Jarlami of the Stanislaus County Superior Court eventually decided to move the trial to San Mateo County, primarily due to the overwhelming public sentiment in Stanislaus that had largely made up their minds about Scott's guilt. Scott Peterson's trial commenced on June 1, 2004, and the stage was set for a high-stakes legal battle. The prosecution argued that Scott's motive for Laci's murder was his extramarital affair with Frey. They highlighted as Scott's actions in the days surrounding Laci's disappearance, particularly his assertion that he had been golfing and inquiries about the use of cadaver dogs to search the park where Laci was believed to have walked their dog. The defense admitted as Scott's infidelity, but ridiculed the idea that he'd give up his entire life for a relat that was only 4 dates old. He accused the police of rushing to judgment. The prosecution, lacking direct evidence, leaned heavily on circumstantial evidence, citing Scott's dissatisfaction with his marriage, the pressure of Laci's pregnancy, his desire to continue his affair with Frey, and financial troubles as potential motives. They contended that Scott made cement anchors to weigh down Laci's body in San Francisco Bay. The trial saw numerous witnesses, including Sharon Russia, testifying about Scott's behavior and absence during Laci's disappearance. While others reported Scott's emotional detachment, the defense questioned the reliability of mitochondrial DNA testing, which linked a hair from Scott's boat to Laci. They raised doubts about the concrete anchor's existence and location, and suggested the fetal remains were of a full-term infant, hinting at an alternative theory that someone kidnapped Laci, made her give birth, and disposed of both bodies in the bay. The jury eventually found Scott guilty of 2 counts of murder, first degree for Laci, and second degree for the fetus. Scott was sentenced to death. The jury believed Scott's demeanor and numerous small pieces of circumstantial evidence signaled his guilt. On March 17, 2005, Scott was transferred to San Quentin State Prison, where he joined death row inmates in the appeals process. Additionally, a judge ruled in favor of Laci's mother receiving the proceeds from a life insurance policy that Scott had taken out on Laci. Scott, at the age of 50, was moved from San Quentin to Mule Creek State Prison and is serving a life sentence without parole. We've come to the end of today's discussion on the Laci Peterson case. If you found this video insightful, please express your support by liking it and subscribing to our channel for more engaging true crime content. Your viewership means a lot. Until we meet again, take care.